What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is Queens-based rapper, singer, songwriter, and producer Deem Spencer. We spoke about Natasha Lyonne's Poker Face, watching movies by yourself versus with other people, Chris Rock's Down to Earth, Baby Boy, how Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory changed his life, his debut project Sunflower, taking constructive criticism, trusting a circle of collaborators, and the creative process behind his latest album, Adult Swim. Come fuck with us. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to Real Notes. This is y'all are we're in the past right now. It's early March. It's March 9th, actually. Y'all probably aren't going to be hearing this until like April, but like good things come to those who wait and don't know good things are coming type shit. My name's Dylan Green, CineMasai. Got a lot of names, do a lot of shit. And I'm with somebody who I've had the privilege to watch grow and also do a lot of shit over the course of the last like 6-7 years. He's a rapper, he's a producer, he's a singer, and a flower enthusiast. I feel like that's pretty accurate to call him that. We got fucking Deem Spencer in the house. Adult Swim is out now and really beautiful and super gratifying. Bro, thank you so much for being here. Like it means a lot that you're here. So thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm happy to finally be here. It's a dream come true for me.
Oh man. Yeah, nah, it's yeah, like before we even get started, just to clarify, like yeah, like we've been tight for probably about 6 years, 7 years at this point. You DM'd me out of the blue and sent me Sunflower right before it came out. And like it's just been so beautiful it's just been so beautiful to see you kind of like I hate I'm about to do this, to see you bloom and transform, and you're here now, and like this really like this project Adult Swim feels so accomplished, and so just like it's just so soothing, like all your music's always been soothing, but like this in particular feels like I finally made it, like I'm here, like notice me now type shit. So just like congratulations on all of that, and just like thank you for being you for all this time.
Thank you so much, man, for real.
Yeah, nah, definitely. So let me ask you the same question I ask everybody to start this shit off. What was the last movie or TV show that you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
Mm. Um, I love this show on Peacock right now called Poker Face.
How is it? Because I really love Natasha Lyonne, but I haven't had time to tap in.
Oh, I love it. It's the same dude that made what's that? Knives Out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a it's like a murder mystery vibe, and it's like a anthology show. Like every episode got a different cast of characters, but she's just moving around the trying to escape what she's trying to escape.
Yeah, nah, it sounds like a ton of fun, and it reminded me of well, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it kind of sort of reminded me of Russian Doll, that Netflix show she did a few years back
Yeah.
that I really loved the first season of, but I never watched the second. But like but like what is it about what is it about the new one that you like so much, and like what's kind of grabbed you about it?
Um, I don't know. I was never like a murder mystery type of guy, but I was in Tokyo last month and I decided to watch the Knives Out joint on the plane. And I'm not gonna lie, it got me. It was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. There was a few people that, boo, but I decided to watch the second one, I'm like, all right, I'm not mad at this little genre. So I saw that the dude Ryan Johnson had created the series Poker Face. So I'm like, this, and it's got its own feel to it, despite, he just previously put out a series of movies within the similar genre. It's got its own unique swing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like I'm one of the people who really enjoy both the Knives Out movies. I think I like the first one a little more than the second one, but they're both, like they're like fun little murder mystery movies that are also kind of like anthologies, anthology based, just in the sense that like the only person who's still in it is Daniel Craig, whose name
Yeah,
I can't remember. I can't remember his character's name, but like that type of shit is just fun to me. Like I love a story that like at least tries to have like a mystery at the center that like you need to solve, or like even if I like figure it out too early, it's just fun to see like the journey to the destination most of the time.
yeah,
um and the new show kind of seems like it's that, and like like the cast is so big and there's so many crazy people in it, like it just it like it seems like it'd be fun to just run through.
yeah. I recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been needing an excuse to jump back on Peacock anyway, because I just haven't had no reason to be there in a
Mm.
minute. But I took my sister, or no, my sister and I went to go see Glass Onion, the second Knives Out, in theaters, and that was like that's like a theater movie, in the sense of just like watching it with people and just like having everyone like react to shit. Like it's one of those, it's like a crowd movie, like I've been discovering recently that there's like a difference between like crowd movies and like movies that you can like watch at the crib by yourself and enjoy it just the same. And like Glass Onion to me was at least like that's a movie you watch with like a bunch of people to get like the effect, you know?
Yeah, that's a good one. I prefer to watch movies with someone else. It's hard for me to keep focus.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's definitely easier to get locked into something when you have someone there to either just like experience it with, or even just like to talk about the shit after. I definitely feel that way. Cause like as much as I like watching movies by myself, I tend to, depending on the movie, I tend to have more fun, and I can at least like bounce ideas off of people after you watch it, and just like even forgetting that, it's just like nice to experience a movie with somebody else and kind of like watch it through their eyes. Unless you like hate the shit, like
Yeah, even when you hate this, like I love comedies. So like I tend to laugh more if someone's right next to me. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah, no, that's a fact. I do too. It's yeah, because like on top of just like laughter being infectious, it's just like you know it, it's it's just kind of like experiencing it through other people, or just I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe, but I know exactly what you mean. Like it's just more fun with other people, like especially comedies, like and like those are kind of, at least like movie wise, those are kind of few and far between these days, because I don't really know why, but you know. Um, but bro, for you, what was the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at the theater, it could be at your cousin's house,
Mm.
like the first thing that comes to mind for you.
In theaters, I don't remember the like chronological order, but like some of the earliest movies I remember in theaters, like I saw this Chris Rock joint, Down to Earth.
Shit, wow. That's a deep cut.
Yeah. Um, I remember seeing like Jet Li, the one in theaters. Uh, my whole family, we saw Baby Boy. Yeah,
What was it?
what came.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I don't know what came first.
Damn. So the baby boy one sounds like the most detailed. So what was it like seeing Baby Boy in the theater with your whole family? That's like a because like Baby Boy is such a that movie's a journey, bro. Like that's such a journey. Like what was that like for you?
I don't know. I was like 5 years old when Baby Boy came out, or like six or something. And shit, I don't remember. I know my grandma like hated Snoop Dogg when I was younger. Like she despised this man. Like he just had a he had a particularly scary vibe, like early 2000s before he like
Hmm.
and uh you know, granddad Snoop.
Yeah. Like Uncle Snoop. Yeah, definitely.
Because he was in this other movie also saw in theaters called Bones. Did you see that?
I saw Bones. Yeah, Bones is wild.
So Snoop Dogg was like a particularly like just menacing figure. So my grandma was not fucking, especially in Baby Boy, because she was there. Like we were all watching that shit in theaters.
Right. And yeah, now the first time you see him in Baby Boy is when he calls to talk to Yvette at her house, and Jody picks up and they have that conversation, and he's just like he just leans into bro, like it's just completely he's like legit terrifying in Baby Boy. Like he's like that's not the nigga to fuck with in that movie at all. Like you just know. Um so now, okay, now I'm curious. Like after you saw Baby Boy with your whole family in the theater, like do you remember anything about your grandma just like what? Because like you kind of mentioned it, but like what was that like after? Because yeah, like I can imagine anybody's grandma like at that point being just like, oh, like this man is, yeah, just like what was going on there?
Shit, I honestly don't remember.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember that family excursion very much, but I think I enjoyed it. My mom enjoyed it. I went with a few cousins as well, but yeah, my grandma just Snoop is not her guy. I don't know if that's changed now that he's switched his
Right.
his around.
Yeah, nah, it's funny. I was talking to my mom about that recently because my mom is like she talks about Snoop Dogg a lot because he's he does like the Martha Stewart shit, and he's got like every game show ever now, and he's Uncle Snoop, Granddad Snoop, like we were saying before. But it's just wild to see how much that's changed over the course of the last like 20 years. And like before we move on, you ever try strawberry soda before? Because like one thing I always remember about Baby Boy is his friend offering him some strawberry soda when he gets into the house, and like I was always like, strawberry soda,
He's
like
hilarious for that. Um, I have tried I have definitely tried strawberry soda. Probably, directly inspired from that scene right there.
yeah, it's I've had a few kinds. It's pretty good. I like the Sunkist one, or either the Sunkist or the CNC. CNC's always a favorite. It's hard to
Yeah,
find depending on where you're at, but like
I was
yeah.
ready for you to say Fanta.
I mean the Fanta one's good too. It's all good. Like it's weird because I had it recently, and it's like I was like, this is that it always it seemed weird when I first heard about it because it's not like the typical flavor, or at least it wasn't for me at the time. But now it's just like, yeah, just give me a strawberry soda. Like I'll take it. Fuck it. Like
Omar Gooding.
yeah, like yeah, no, shout out to him. He kind of he might have been onto something, honestly. Um, but so like as you get older and you start living a little more life and start to form some more solid memories, was there a movie that kind of stopped you in your tracks and really, like not even so much in like an artful way, but just like a movie that really kind of touched you and like really moved you on some like, oh, this is like a movie and not just like me staring at a screen for an hour and a half, like something that like really connected with you?
Hmm. I like that question.
Thank you.
Shoot. Um, One of my favorite movies. Because I can't think of one of those like moments that like I was stopped in my tracks, but like a movie that I watched every time I ever saw that it was, on is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And that
Oh
shit,
man.
that movie like shaped just how I want to um just, be as an artist. Like Willy Wonka is like the uh, he's the artist of artists. Yeah, that's like
Yeah. Sorry, what'd you say?
that's my final form.
Wow. Yeah, so like it's like what was it? So like what was it about Willy Wonka? Cause I mean like I can see it because it's like such a like that movie in general is like so colorful and creative and just like all out like zany and yeah, you're like zany, wacky and like really like pastel colored. Like it's such a like it's a really easy movie to visualize. So like what was it about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that's really kind of stuck with you since
Um,
then?
so the story, the colors, the music, like all of it, honestly, is like I'm not big on musicals, but this was like one that I don't know, I really resonate with. It's like a kid in a small town. I don't even know what town that was. Do you?
Oh man, like it was like somewhere. If I oh no, because the Tim Burton joint was the one where they were in London. I don't even know
Yeah,
honestly. It's just somewhere, like any town USA type
yeah.
shit.
Small town kid. He grew up with his parents and his grandparents, and he there's like a nationwide contest going on, and he just wants to win. And then he wins and gets up out of there and like gets to really experience the makings of this like magical like hub that had the world on its fucking toes. Like I don't know, that shit was cool. And then to actually see who Willy Wonka is, and he's like fucking, I don't know, Gene Wilder over Johnny Depp, if you ask me.
Oh, for
But
sure.
uh, yeah, he was just crazy. He was he was crazy, and like there were so many bits in there, like so many individual bits that you can't like compartmentalize because it's like I don't know, it's one large character. Like I don't know, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's interesting to me because like you're right. I never really thought about it like that, but you look at the character of Willy Wonka and like he's like we know nothing about him outside of the fact that he's Willy Wonka. He owns this chocolate factory and he like enslaved the Oompa Loompas and like that's basically all we know about this dude. But like we get so much of like who he is as a person just through like his just through like his ticks and just like like watching a movie like Willy Wonka and seeing that character the way that Gene Wilder put him characterized him like you get so much about who he is as a person and like even like without filling in like a specific backstory like you get so much of him just through the performance like next to nothing about him as a person like where he was born like why he became a chocolatier and like where the chocolate factory came from like all these questions that have no answers but none of that matters because he's so compelling as a character and so interesting as a person and just kind of like it's like he's like the perfect kind of character to base a movie around because it doesn't like it doesn't require you to spend 45 minutes like they did in the Johnny Depp version, where it's like, oh, his dad was a dentist and he started making chocolate because he hated his dad, and like that shit was completely unnecessary. Like we didn't need that, like he just kind of worked as he was. And
Yeah,
Gene Wilder just made him, he just made him fly, like he's just like a cool, funny, like neurotic type of character that just works, like without needing to, like without needing to explain like who he is or where he came from. And that's hard to do,
yeah,
and like I think that's a big part of the reason why that movie's so timeless, because it really is timeless to me.
yeah. So it's the perfect movie to me.
Wow. When was the last time you watched it?
Um, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while, but I keep a photo of it on my wall.
Which photo, like the poster for the movie, or like a shot from the movie?
Yeah, the movie poster.
It's hard.
Gene, suit and the hat, all the kids behind him.
Right. Okay. That's tight. I like that. That's like a really like reassuring and positive image. So I fuck with that. That's cool. I think before we move on, I think the last time I watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, it was Christmas actually. I was putting up my tree with my dad and my sister,
Mm.
and we just decided to watch Willy Wonka. Like it was funny because he started humming Pure Imagination, and we
Uh,
were like, let's just watch Willy Wonka, and like it just kind of, and like it was like that was the first time I'd watched it all the way through in years, like maybe almost 10 years, like from front to back. And like I had forgotten so much about it, like because like like the thing we always remember is like Charlie wins the ticket, gets to the thing, we see we meet the other kids, and like Augustus Gloop falls in the river, Violet eats the gum, Veruca Salt gets fucked up by the squirrels.
yeah,
But like I always but like watching it, I remembered that like he had like the Onceler dude or whatever the fuck his name was, who was like the spy who was trying to steal the gobstopper, and everything going on with Charlie's family before he wins the ticket. And like there's so many little details that make that story pop.
uh,
That's like it was fun to kind of revisit that and just like remember that there's more to the movie than just the chocolate factory, you
I
know.
always wanted to, and I hope I'm not giving up too much right now, but I always wanted to write like a stage version of that movie, of the story, adapt it for the stage, and I want three stacks to play Wonka.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I want, like, but it got to be a play though.
Not a musical, just a play.
Yeah, got to. I mean, it would be a musical. There's hella music in the movie.
Right. Yo, damn. Oh man, nah, you put that in my head. Nah, I need that. Man, three stacks is Willy. Oh man, Andre 3000 is Willy Wonka would be like the world's not ready for that. Like that's like because that's almost like I almost feel like that's what Class of 3000, that old Cartoon Network show, like could have been. As much as I love that show, like
Yeah,
his character on that show reminds me so much of Willy Wonka. Like,
yeah.
yo, I could see it. I could see it. Like, like if you start that, let me know, because like I want in on that. I want in on that.
Nah, yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah, son. So let's jump over to music for you. When was I mean, like it's kind of like music's always been. I feel like music's always been a part of your life, but when did like when did music become something more to you than just like a passive thing in the background? Like when did it become like a thing that you were like, oh, like this is music. This is like I'm here now.
Mm. Growing up, I wasn't. I never collected music. I got my first iPod when I was on my 15th birthday, and I started collecting music when I was 15. I would go to my boy Spencer's house. He had the lime wire, all that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
um, start collecting music from there. Everything I knew at that point was just hits and anything my mom would play. So, anything that was on 106 in Park, that was music to me. I didn't go deep into any particular catalog until I was 15. And then I started with like Eminem and like Ludacris and uh, stuff like that. Lil Wayne at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like me becoming a fan of music for real. Like, and that's crazy to say. I wasn't really like a fan of music until I was like 15, and then
Mm-hmm.
because yeah, I always wanted to I don't know what I wanted to do, but at that point, I always knew I wanted to like be some sort of like I don't know entertainer. I wanted to express myself on some shit, and then in high school, I started rapping, just playing around because I had a friend who rapped, and it was something I felt I was naturally good at, so I would compete with him, and I just kept going because I was already good, and then I stopped rapping in high school because there was a comedy program in the school, and they would like throw performances and stuff, and it was improv, and they chose me to like be a part of the improv shit, and I was doing that. I was doing stand up until I was like 17, and then I ended up I don't know, I forgot how it happened, but I guess I like a lot of my friends from like elementary school started coming to my boy Spencer's house where I had set up my mic. Um, and they were rapping and they like made a mixtape like at Spencer's house off the mic that I'd set up there. So I
Yeah.
don't know, it inspired me to start I felt like I had like a community of other rappers. So it made it easier to focus on that and uh naturally the music community is more open than the comedy community,
Facts.
especially for someone like me. So yeah, it just felt like the natural direction. And I got closer with a bunch of my guys from my neighborhood. And yeah, we were rapping and I took that shit very seriously. And in 2016, I started throwing events because the open mic route is not for me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and the rest is history, I guess.
Damn. So I never knew that about you in comedy. Like that's I've never heard that before. But it makes sense because like the way you write is like so poetic and really observational, like the way a stand-up comic might do it. Like you know, like you're not telling jokes really, but like you write stories in that way where it feels like super duper observational.
Mm.
And it's like yeah, like I'm literally forming this thought as I'm saying it out loud. That's really crazy. It like a ton of stuff just started making sense for me based off of like all the shit of years I've heard
Yeah,
just off of that.
it's something about comedy or like telling jokes where you are you're playing off the fact that you know someone's listening very closely. So you're gonna
Right.
throw in the truth where they don't expect it, and it's gonna get that reaction you need. And like, I don't know, maybe that's where I like developed that. But yeah, I think just I don't know, having that bit of practice definitely helped me in my writing, like you said.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, and for it to go from you hanging with Spence and them, shout out to Spence, by the way.
Yeah, all
Um, yeah, always. Like for you to go from that to like legitimately making music as like a like this is what I'm gonna do, like going to like from that to throwing events. Like when specifically did music become more than just a hobby for you? Like when did you go from I'm making music with the homies to I'm throwing shows?
um it never felt like a hobby. Like I always wanted to like do this. Like I always like back then, like when I started when I was like 17, like I thought I could make it. I thought I could make it back then. I thought I was going to. So that's why I was going so hard. I thought it was going to work. And like, honestly, like it never felt like a hobby. Like I always wanted everybody to hear what I was doing. And um yeah, just like from day one, like I was trying shit. Like I was always trying to get the music out there. Even before I was good at it, like I'll admit, but yeah, I never thought like I was never playing around with this.
Right. Nah, and I could tell, like even from that early stuff, like from Sunflower, like just like listening to songs like Soap and Fucked Up Flowers, like at that time, and like at that time there was nothing else like it, like I remember listening to Sunflower and being like, like not only is this like really cool and like I'm fucking with it, it really sounded like nothing else, like I feel like everything that is commonly considered to be like quote unquote lo-fi, like that, like that community was starting to really build itself around that time. And I feel like you were a part of that, but also just like making stuff that sounded nothing like anything going on there. So I guess just like talk to me about making Sunflower and like how that came about and just like how it was received once you dropped it.
Yeah, shit, 2016. Hmm. Okay, so 2015, I think I really wanted to I really wanted to get my music like on blogs and stuff because back then like that's what, was blowing artists up.
Yep.
So a lot of the music I was making prior to Sunflower, like all the music I was making prior to Sunflower was it hmm, it was I don't know what like adjective to use, but it wasn't it didn't show the best sides of me, I guess. Like prior to all of my influences are very heavy and like technically strong. And that was something I prioritized, like making sure like I was saying some like heavy shit in the most like technically impressive way. So a lot of the music prior to Sunflower was technically impressive. I was rapping my ass off, but it was like depressing because like I wasn't talking about like anything anyone like wanted to hear. I felt, because
Mm-hmm.
so Sunflower, I made it a point to like just have fun with it for once. Like just like start making start making sweeter shit. Like play with my voice more. Like sing more. Just be funny. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the intention on Sunflower. And early 2016, this homie of ours, Daryl, he threw a birthday party in Queens, and he had all the homies perform, and I went up last. Um, and somehow, like, my performance was like the illest of the night. Like, and that was the first time that ever happened for me, where like I really shut shit down. And these are the older songs. This isn't even like Sunflower stuff because I hadn't like
Right.
have it yet. But in that moment, like I realized like how to perform. It just like it clicked, like how, or at least like how I can perform my songs, and it clicked. So the next day, like I bought some acid at the party. The next day, I did the acid, and the following day, I started hitting up every venue in the city and like actually booking dates. I'm like, yo, let me like, what available nights do you have? What like, and I was like, I started throwing events like just like that, and because yeah, as soon as I realized, all right, I could perform, I'm like, I need to perform. I need I need people to pull up and see me shut shit down the way I did at Daryl's party,
Right.
because that's how I'm gonna make fans out of these people. And yeah, I kept in mind to like put the lighthearted just feel and all the stuff, and just do that at the shows, do that on the music. And it was like a real uh yeah, I wanted Sunflower to be like the sweetest rap niggas have ever heard. And um, funny enough, what like right before I put out Sunflower, I was at Spencer's house and I played him Soap. I wasn't gonna put Soap on there,
Mm.
um, because Soap wasn't like lighthearted. It wasn't like one of the sweet joints. Like, in fact, that's the only song on Sunflower that I'm really like rapping on. Cause yeah, so he talked me into like putting Sunflower on there. And funny enough, that was a song that like went.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how it all worked out, but yeah, that's how it all came about. Like I yeah.
So Soap is such a, you're right. Like it really is like such an outlier on that album. And like especially considering the one that always got me was I always liked Chamomile. Chamomile was always my favorite off of this that wasn't Soap or Fucked Up Flowers. And just to see it be the one that kind of took off and made people curious, like was really was really interesting to me, especially since like like I kind of alluded to before, the very first time I saw you play, you were opening for Elucid and Open Mike Eagle at a hole in the wall in Brooklyn.
Wow.
And like I watched you take the stage, and you seemed like terrified to be up there. Like maybe you weren't terrified, but you were very much like still kind of like it was just like you were like so guarded and so reserved. And like I'm not sure if that was just like I don't know if that was like an aspect of your performance or if that was just like genuine nerves, but it was you made it so compelling, and it immediately grabbed me, and I was like, who the fuck is this? Like it was really one of those moments. So like once you started to get out and do more shows and like book them for yourself, talk to me about like how people started to receive Sunflower, especially with Soap on it, considering that like Soap's kind of the centerpiece of this, and it's such an outlier.
Um, that yeah, that whole time, that whole year of shows meant a lot because people people were really coming back, and people, like you said, I was nervous. I was nervous every time, and I saw how everyone received it, and um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't. I don't know. It's poetic in the way it all worked out because I was genuinely nervous, but I also knew that like if I lean on the songs, they understand it's a real person.
Right.
So yeah, it's like you see a real person like feeling something right in front of you, and like I'm saying these like songs you couldn't have wrote yourself.
Right. But like even if you couldn't have written them yourself, like you were definitely expressing things that people wanted and needed to hear that they couldn't figure out how to do themselves. And even if you couldn't directly relate to it, it was, like I said, just like compelling music. Like it just like gripped me. It gripped me, like I really was like, like I could also relate to it, but it was really just like like damn, like this is really, like like you said, you're a real person and you can like feel it type shit. So like what like you've already mentioned that like you started singing more and playing more with melody, and I feel like that was like and just like the whole visual aesthetic of the project, like you in front of all these beds of flowers and riding bikes through grassy fields, and like it was like a whole, like it was like it was an aesthetic, especially within rap at that time, that people weren't, like this was like years before Flower Boy happened. Like this is like before everybody was all on like the Black Boy Joy type shit. And like not that this was exactly that, but like, like it was, you were just dealing with you just kind of like embraced stuff that a lot of people weren't at that time and would come to in the years to come. So um when did you first realize that that was the direction you wanted to head, and it was like, oh, like this is who Deem Spencer is?
Mm. Around the time I was working on Sunflower, I credit that as like the project where I really found my voice and I really started using my voice. Um, I realized, um, I realized that my story is one of a kind, and I should tell it, and I should tell it through the most accurate, uh, not accurate every time, because sometimes I do take liberties, creative liberties, and like I like to talk about all types of shit. But yeah, I feel like just my perspective is very much worth representing because who else is gonna do it? Like I was really influenced by Kendrick because Good Kid, Mad City is a concept I needed like fuck because all the other rappers prior to that were like, I don't know, just talking about partying and like a whole bunch of shit I wasn't actually interested in, or they were just, the contrast was like very depressive stuff. Um, there wasn't a lot of like music about, all right, I'm here. This is what's going on around me. And to be honest, I don't like it, but I see better for us. And just the perspective Kendrick gave, just being like a young dude in like a like wild like place, is something I really related to. And I didn't know you can get away with being that vulnerable as a rapper. And that shit meant a lot. And I started talking more about my neighborhood, and I started talking more about who I am in relation to it. And that shit um opened up my um reach as a writer so much, because before I was just trying to find what words made the best sense. And I was like
Yeah.
living with that. And I was trying to find what I was rhyming. But yeah, like just that influence opened up like how far I could take it. And then to be honest, when Chance came out, he was even more so Good Kid, Mad City. And
Right.
that he took so much creative liberty with his work, and like it's not even funny. like this dude, like this dude is from Chicago and was really like I don't know. We all know what Chance represented at his height. Like he was just like this beam of light with, and it almost didn't seem like he was a part of the same Chicago everybody else was talking about. And
Right.
he was able to really like lead with his values rather than just conform to the archetypes, um, you know, and I appreciated that. Like I realized, okay, I can actually be 18 years old. I don't have to act like I'm older. I don't have to act like I'm wilding out here. I don't have to, write about all this shit that like I was, being tempted to write about, because I suddenly had examples of people who like really just being themselves and like saying shit they cared to say. And that's one thing that it took me a time, it took me some time to like it took me time to realize that that's the purpose of art, because I started like making music before I even like had anything to say. You know what I mean?
hmm That shit is so real. Like everything you just said, but especially that last part is like, just like, like a big part of art is just like, like how can I express me? Like how can I let you know who I am in the most creative and unique way possible? And, like I see kind of that, I see that anxiety and that just like this is me trying to make my way through all this in a song like Eve's Titties, which has always been one of my favorite songs of yours. And just like all that, just like like hearing stuff like Sunflower and We Think We Alone, and then you really leaning into that on Pretty Face. Like it's like that's you really leaning into like, oh, like I'm, like around Pretty Faces, around the time you're probably just about entering your early 20s if you're not like 18 or 19 years old. And like you very much sound like that, like on both those early joints. Like it's you really just embrace the anxiety and confusion and hope that comes from just trying to make it through something that feels hopeless. Like like you're talking about like grief and loss on both of these albums, like whether it's with a breakup or the death of a family member, but you're finding sense in these words and in this really like bright, chirpy sound that nobody else is really exploring the way you are. And it's something that like always made me see you as really unique. And like I still go back to Pretty Face sometimes and I look at the way you did like it's there aren't very many people who've done the like, oh, like the track list tells a story thing. Like that's really cool to me. Like that's like that's something that I'm sure had been done before, but it's something that I hadn't really seen. And I've only really seen it a handful of times since. Like I think Knowledge did that once with his last big album, but like it's just like a testament to you just being true to yourself. Um, and I've always loved that about you. Like you're telling me that now, but um, I've always seen that in you as just someone who's like, this is me. I'm gonna just be me, no matter how like weird or confusing it might be to other people. Like the people who get it, and they have, and I think they still do. You know.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like it was just like such a time for someone like you to be like, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna be me, as opposed to like you said, just kind of being tempted to being something that you aren't.
Yeah,
And like like as much as I enjoyed your music, like I would put like I would play it for people, and if anybody ever had a criticism, the or like the one would be like, what the fuck is he saying? Like, it
yeah,
sounds great, but like I can't hear him. I can't hear his voice. Like, what's he saying? Like that's always something that I would hear. And it was something that like, because like I think about people like Mike, like y'all two kind of came up around the same time. And like he, like the reason I figured out pretty early on that the reason that the two of y'all did that, like the way that you would mix your vocals, or I guess not mix your vocals and kind of let them be buried, was it's like you were saying before about the whole stand-up thing. It's like an invitation for you to come and listen closer type shit, and like really like lock in on what you're saying. It goes beyond just being passive listening, and it's just like you really like, what's he saying? Like,
right.
and that's something that like not to make the jump to Adult Swim so abruptly, but you've really addressed that criticism like head on with this project. Like it's this is the clearest your voice has ever been on a record, like ever. And it's like it was almost like it was like shocking to me at first. I was like, wow, it's like so like that's never been a problem. Like the way you did it before was never a problem for me, but I was like so surprised to hear you so clearly. Like like it really caught me by surprise. So before we get into Adult Swim proper, like what was like I'm sure you heard that a lot. So what was like when did you first like whether it was like on Pretty Face or with Deem's tape, like when did you first say to yourself like, all right, like maybe it's time to change this?
Um, shit. On Dean, when I was working on Dean's tape, um, I I realized I I didn't want, I didn't. It felt like there were my team calls them excuses. Say that like I gotta stop giving people excuses not to fully fuck with me, And one of the excuses was they can't hear what I'm saying. Like everybody has always given me my props, like because they appreciate the art and the just the creativity of it. But that one thing just keeps it from being shared every time versus, when you really catch it, when you really feeling it,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, just like the fact that creative choice was holding me back at all didn't sit right with me after like the fourth tape. So yeah, with Dean's tape, I recorded a lot of that stuff at home. Like I recorded probably most of it by myself, but I had someone else mix it. But with Adult Swim, I did the entire recording process like in the studio. I had Spencer with me every time I recorded anything. And yeah, like the product, the result of that is, Adult Swim. You can hear what I'm saying, and just we even upped the production quality.
Right. Yeah, that was like that was that was another thing I was gonna touch on is that like yeah, like this is so like even compared to the older stuff that was always so bright and so like colorful, like this is so lush, like like it really feels like for lack of a better word, an upgrade to what you've kind of been working at for the last like 5 6 years. Like you really decided to like step into that for real. So when so like where did the initial idea for Adult Swim come from? Because I heard that you had originally wanted to call the album My Wife and Kids, but
Yeah.
you settled on Adult Swim. So like walk me through that process and like what and like how you ended up with Adult Swim.
Well, I had my wife and kids first because one, I love the title. I think Deem Spencer, My Wife and Kids is such a fire album. Just and it just had me thinking just where I could take it. And um I had been Deem's tape. I wanted to be my wife and kids. Like
Mm,
yeah, like I've been trying to figure this thing out. But I think the way I do want to do it, I guess not be so literal, but the theme itself is what had me thinking about all these things. Like with Dame's tape, it had me looking back at my life and um, just because the concept there was like, what what do I want my uh, what do I want my legacy to know about me? And and with this one is like, all right, what does it even look like? What am I doing it all here? What am I doing it all for? Um, but yeah, like toward the end of the creative process for this album, I realized like my wife and kids like implies something else. Like I feel like people hearing my wife and kids would assume it's more like I'm talking more relationship shit, which I was
right.
um in previous versions of the album. But um yeah, just things were changing and I realized I'm not even like I don't want to dedicate this next chapter to that just yet. So Adult Swim just fit the subject matter so much smoother. We were in the studio. Spencer and I were talking about this like merch commercial I had made, and he was like, "That's some Adult Swim type shit." And the engineer Matt was like, "Adult Swim, that should be the name of the album," because I had just told them like an hour prior that I'm not feeling my wife and kids anymore. And then, he said that, and then we immediately like all had the light bulb moment.
Wow. And see, hearing that you've been playing around with My Wife and Kids for a while reminds me that you told me that you had been wanting to use Pretty Face for a title, I think as early as We Think We Alone.
Yeah.
So like you hold on to titles for a while and like you're really intentional. You're really intentional and really meticulous with titles. So like why or not why. I'm trying to think of how I want to ask this. Like where did that come from? Like you really you don't really hear that often where it's like, oh, I've been holding on to this title for like 5 years or like however many years. I'm just really interested in because like it's a pattern, like it's not like it just happened once. Like you kind of hold on to these ideas for years. So like I guess where do you think that came from? And like why I guess or no, even more than that, like why do you feel like it seems like titles are really important to you. So like do you feel like a why do you feel like that's so important to you? I like that sounds like such an obvious question asking it out loud, but like
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, For one, the title, that's the main symbol of the piece other than the artwork.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of time, like I like to consider myself like I'm sometimes like a concept artist, but mainly I'm an album artist, but also I'm a
Hmm.
catalog like so I'm always like thinking of like how the bigger picture of everything looks. So like I don't know. And yeah, I'm always thinking of
Yeah.
like what's next. So the title usually like allows me to like I don't know, see the future because if I could like put into like a I don't know, on some like the opening scene of like some Tarantino shit, the title comes up and then it's like, all right, this is what we on now.
Yeah.
Like that's that's how I best like define like my eras. But I don't know. I know when it's like I should push something ahead and like accept what actually is. Because I've had to pivot a few times.
Right. And like you mentioned just now that you also kind of see yourself as like an album artist, which I'm not gonna say that that's kind of gone out, because I actually feel like it's kind of starting to come back in a little bit. I'm starting to hear a lot more people really embrace the idea of like an album and like what it means to create something that exists as a cohesive thought from start to finish, as opposed to just like 24 songs that sound cool, which like both modes are fine. But like before we move on to the album proper, like what does it mean for you to be an album artist? Because it seems to me like it's like for you it seems like it's separate from the idea of making a concept. So like for you, I guess, like what's the difference between like being a concept artist versus an album artist?
Um, I think they're like one and the same. Like hmm, yeah, I wouldn't like make a distinction between those two, but I think uh for me, I like I got into music listening to bodies of work. Like I said, I started like collecting music when I was 15, and the most impressive works I ever heard in my life were like full cohesive albums. So that was something I always wanted to make.
Right.
Yeah, I'm still inspired to like I feel like I still have um I still have some masterpieces in me. I think I could like make a classic album for real. Like not to say I haven't. Like I listened to Pretty Face today and I'm like, yo, this shit is really good. Like that shit was like really good. And yeah. But yeah, I think albums are like my favorite like uh art form.
Yeah. No, no, I agree with all that. Like there's like there's something special about being able to put together a bunch of sounds, that like fit that like feed into a whole. And for you, if you were to, like if you were to like sum up what Adult Swim is about, like considering that it's been through so many iterations and originally even had a different title that you're going to save for something down the road, like what, like somebody who's never heard you before, who's coming here because they see you have features from Mavi and Drum. They're like, oh, who's this Deem Spencer dude? Like what would be the one thing you'd want for that person to take away from Adult Swim?
Hmm. Um, shit. Well, I obviously want them to leave impressed. I want like, huh? That's a good that's a good question. You kind of stumped me there. Like, what do I want? Like a new, like someone who just discovers me to leave with. Yeah, I want them to feel it, like I don't know. I've been
Yeah, like
I've, now that you asked me that, I'm kind of realizing that I've been thinking a lot more about like the people who are already fans. I've been considering them a lot more now that I think about this question.
well, since we're there, what like especially since you've grown so much and have kind of gone out of your way to address like lingering criticism, or like criticism's the wrong word, but like like lingering like thoughts about your stuff. Like what do you want the old fans to take away from this?
Uh, uh, I want them to have a better understanding of what I where I'm coming from, who I am for real, and um, yeah, I wanted to provide context on songs that they already love, and just update everyone on where I feel like I'm going. There have been a lot of fans who have hit me up throughout the years, like, I can't believe you're not like famous, bro.
I mean,
I don't know what to tell you. But with Adult Swim, I wanted to um, get all those people excited and just everybody that believes in me. I wanted to give them something to keep believing in. Yeah, I wanted to impress the people who are already impressed and give them a better understanding. Um, there's a lot of young people who grew up, like, I get those messages too. Like, I've been listening to you since high school, bro. Like, I've been listening to you since first year of college, and people who grown up with this shit. Um, I realize like just the maturing uh, themes I can only imagine are helpful.
yeah. Yeah. Like, like the themes and just like the way like the way you decided to approach a lot of these songs, like even just like listening, like there are a lot of songs on here that I feel like are these crystallizations of ideas that you've been digging at for years, like I Will Die on Your Hill and How Far We've Come and The Kids Are Listening, like those three songs, and Deli Man too. Those four songs in particular, they feel like they just they just kind of feel like these like not even so much in terms of like the content of your lyrics, but even just in like the way that you just in like the way that you move through the production and the way that you just like, not to say that your music didn't sound confident, but like you sound so, this feels like the I'm Here album. Like if like, which is weird because like Pretty Face also feels like the I'm Here album, but in like a completely different way. Like you said, this is like a pivot for you in subtle ways. Like it's not like it's a night and day difference between the two. Like I believe that I would believe that the person who made Pretty Face would make an album like Adult Swim, but this just feels it's like more forward than I feel like you've been, just in terms of like the presentation. Like from the cover, like the cover's gorgeous. It's really beautiful painting. That like from that to just the way you express yourself, even like on um how far we've come and the kids are learning, or the kids are listening in particular, like those two just feel like, oh, like he's here, like he's really, like he's not just like he's telling us, he's telling it to us now, and not just kind of like we don't have to go find it, like he's bringing it to us type
Right.
shit, if that makes sense, you
Yeah.
know.
I said I said in like a previous interview that like the all the earlier music felt like I was talking to myself in the mirror, where
Mm,
this feels like I'm talking out loud to the camera. Um, and yeah, that goes. I mean, it means a lot that you receive this album that way, because I feel like, yeah, this was like you said, this is what I've always been trying to. This is the effect I was always aiming for, but I achieved it this time. um, yeah, I don't like it's Pretty Face also felt to me like my I'm Here album, and it's kind of telling that um people are kind of not surprised, but I guess like I don't know. I think people thought they had me figured out.
mm. Yeah, nah, you didn't hit your ceiling, like I think that's the thing. Like this is like it really does feel like an evolution. And like once again, that's not even to say that, like, like that's not even to say that the stuff that came before like isn't good. It's just that, like, like you're growing and you're really figuring out like what, like where this is gonna go. And before I ask you my last two questions to wrap this up, um, I was, like seeing Mavi and Drum on here in particular, and Orion's son too, actually. The three of them, like these are all people that I kind of feel like, like y'all kind of run in the same creative headspace, and just in like the way you express yourselves, like the four of y'all very much feel like you. Like I was listening to Drum's album that came out last year, and it's been beautiful to see the way he's just embraced being himself, like he's a fucking ham, and I love that man because he's just like a ham and he's not afraid to be that. Like Mavi is not afraid to be like this really heady dude who's got like so much sauce that he can make anything sound fly and just like dope and really thoughtful. And like Orion's son just has this beautiful voice and just like this unique perspective that, like like they've kind of grown into. So like what was it like working on these songs with those three artists in particular? Because I feel like they feel so they feel like kindred spirits to you. And yeah, they just feel like kindred spirits to you.
It was amazing getting them each these songs, because yeah, I'm a fan of all of them, honestly. Like Drum, that's someone I've been a fan of since 2014.
Yep.
Um I've listened to all his stuff, and yeah, like I've been a real fan, put all my friends on, all that. And yeah, he was just always been someone I've wanted to work with. And I remember he like followed me um at some like at some point in the last couple of years, and he hit me up and was like, yo, let's work, or send me some shit, or I don't know, send me his number or something. I forget how it went, but I sent him a bunch of joints. Um, and yeah, he fucked with all of them. But he sent me this Ungrateful You joint. He sent the verse back on that. And yeah, like that's someone I'm excited to work with more in the future. Um, Mavi, I think Mavi's like the best rapper out right now. Like he's putting out some like strong shit. And yeah, and it's he's put out a lot of like very solid shit in like a pretty small amount of time. So when I yeah, when had this song, I knew I like really wanted to, because this feels like some like early 2000s shit, the How Far We Come joint.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like some early 2000s joint that was produced by Julian from the group Michelle. And yeah, I really wanted somebody to rap on that shit. And I sent it to Mavi and he fucked with it and got it back to me. And I want everybody to read his lyrics on that shit. Like I want niggas to read what he's saying on there. Cause this nigga's highly impressive on everything. Um and Orion's son, um, my friend Mike put me on their music. I think early last year. Early last year he put me on their music and or Saint put me like I don't know. It was Mike and Saint. They both sent me Orion's son. And it was beautiful. And we had gotten in touch and really wanted to work like or just connect because like yeah, we were mutual fans of one another. And then they went on the first headlining tour around the country. That shit was sold out, which, you know, I'm glad I got to be a part of that. I did the East Coast leg and yeah, it was a beautiful time and it was very inspiring for me and helped me to get the energy to make this album, honestly. Like it really helped. And yeah, we got along very well on that tour. We connected afterward and yeah, this song came about. Who else is on the album? Kia Blue. Like, yeah, there's a lot of like
Yeah.
very talented people on this album.
And Eliza Moon too. Eliza Moon was, yeah, she killed it. Like,
Davion.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is like you know, you've worked with people in the past, but this feels, like this is like this album feels so. This is like the most people you've worked with on an album, and the most like popping people at one time too. Like because like you didn't even really start working with features until Pretty Face, and even that was like I think like lives on Pretty Face, and Chief Justice, and of course Spence Sly Cooper is on there. But like it's like that's another reason why this feels like such a like I'm here moment, because it's like, okay, I got Drum, I got Mavi, I got Orion's son, like I got Eliza Moon and Kia Blue. Like this is like a like like I'm working with people, and like people want to work with me.
Yeah.
And like that's really gratifying. I mean, I know it's gratifying for you as an artist, but like me as someone who's been here for a while and is just like happy for all your success.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out my peers.
yeah, for real. Like, like like we don't gotta do this shit alone.
Yeah.
Like like like-minded people really like doing things by yourself is great, but like when you really link with people who like get what you're trying to do, it's there's really no better feeling than like being understood. We all just want to be understood. That's why we create art, like like bread is nice and all that, but like people create art to be understood. And before we really wrap this up, um like as someone who's kind of watched you grow from the first moment that you really started like going all in, how like how do you feel you've changed the most since you started out, and what do you feel has stayed the same about you? Because like I think like I alluded to it before, but like that first time I saw you was like completely different from the last time I saw you. Like like the last time I saw you, you were like leading the crowd in fucking chants and dancing around the stage, and just like like that confidence and just like the growing sense of like this is who Deem Spencer is was just there. So like how do you feel you've changed the most, and how do you feel you've changed the least as an artist in the last 7 years?
I like this question. Um, I think I changed the most in confidence, like you said. Yeah, I never I never felt like I couldn't do it, but there was a lot of times where I felt like, damn, this is hard. Or like, like it like there was a lot of times where I knew there was like a big like leap I had to make. And there was a lot of times where I like hesitated for years to make a big leap. And yeah, I feel like I've taken a lot of big leaps in the last few years. And I'm able to apply like new wisdom, so I could, yeah, I move around a lot more confidently, um, and more sure of myself. Like you can't tell me I don't do this shit now. Um, and how I changed the least. Um, I still work with my friends. I haven't changed my team or my circle at all. And I still prioritize that. It still matters a lot to me to uh, keep my loved ones involved, you know? Like, I don't know. I never felt the need to like outsource.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, that's one thing that probably will never change. Like, I want to make all my shit with Spencer and Mike, and you know, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm still very much grounded, but I'm also like, I know how to take big steps now.
right. And like those big steps have really led to some really like thoughtful and soothing music. And it's just like it's just really dope to see the way you've kind of kept to yourself, like you like stayed true to yourself, but just like expanding in a way that feels organic and natural to you. And like you really can't put a price on that type of shit, like and just like keeping people close, and just like still having that network that you can trust, and like adding to it, like in like small ways,
Yeah,
but like not forgetting that base is, like that's important. And I love that for you. I don't know. That's all I really have to say there. But to formally wrap this up, Deem, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
If my life was a movie, it would be about me, trying to make it in this shit, but it would be pursuit of happiness vibes.
Damn. Oh, that's so sad.
Finally make it in the end.
Good. Yeah. Because you said that, and the first thing that came to mind was the scene with Will Smith and well, with fucking Will and Jaden in the bathroom.
Oh, it gets tough
Um,
around here.
yeah, man, I believe it. Like just like the fucking, it's like the two of them in like the bus station bathroom, and somebody's trying to bust their way in, and
My man got his
Jaden's
foot
just
on the door.
like, yeah, like he's like crying, like that's such an intense moment, and like I know you've been through a lot to get here, like between like struggle and loss and heartbreak and all this shit, but like, like you said, you made it and you're here on your own terms, and that's a beautiful thing, to just kind of be here on your own terms. um
Yeah.
and like as not just like not just as someone who, like not just as like your friend, but as like someone who's also kind of grown a lot over the course of the last 7 years, and is in a place where they kind of feel different but the same. It's really like, thank you for the music, and thank you for your perspective, and thank you for you know like, you've always been a real genuine person and a real genuine artist, and that always shines through in the music you make. And I'm just really, like I said before, I'm just like beyond happy for your success. Like you deserve everything you got coming, and everybody who doesn't know is about to know. So like, just thank you for taking the time to come to me for this, and just thank you for being you. Like it's like, telling anybody else that might seem kind of like cheesy, but like, we've been talking so much about the importance of being yourself, so like, legit, like, thank you for being you, like that. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
means a lot, man. For real. Thank you. Thank you. Like, it means a lot that I don't, do all this for nothing. And, I appreciate your support since, the first time we met. Um, you've always shown love, and yeah, just yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Nah, man, it's the least I could do. This isn't about me. I'm just here to put on for the shit that deserves to be put on for. Like, it's just my job to put on for the good shit. That's all I'm here for, and you've been doing that forever, so it's really the least I could do. you
Yeah.
know like, pursuit of happiness is eternal over here.
Absolutely.
Oh shit. Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far, and shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.